Hey you guys,
it's Summer
and it's Sarah,
and we're doing a video today that was highly requested because in one of our last videos we mentioned that we had met because of our anxiety, and so a lot of you guys are struggling with that and just asked if we could share our stories and kind of how we got through it. And so that is what this video is for, and we are trying to I can't guarantee we won't cry. But we're going to try not to
we're
cry.
going to try to keep it a little bit lighthearted.
Because, you know, it doesn't have to, it is heavy when you're going through it, but when you look back one day,
I have little things that you are like, that was pretty funny.
Not in the moment.
Not in the moment.
We're not laughing at it in the moment.
But it's good hindsight to be able to look back and just kind of laugh. Okay, so for me, I always had some level of anxiety, and I would, you know, my anxiety is more like the panic attack type of anxiety, like I guess you would call it panic disorder. So what would happen was every once in a while I would get these like weird sensations where my chest would get tight and my heart would race, and I was just like, what is going on? But I'd always just kind of brush it off.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, it always plagued me like, maybe I have something wrong with my heart. Because all of a sudden...
usually how people find out about their anxiety.
Yeah.
They think they're having like a heart attack or
something.
Chest problems.
Yeah. So, but then I would just kind of dismiss it and just kind of be like, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm fine. But after I had Joya, the panic attacks started happening way more frequently. Right after I brought her home from the hospital, I remember my first night home from the hospital, I woke up and everyone had gone to church, and of course I was home. And I stood up, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I can't breathe. My heart was like racing. I couldn't even count how fast it was beating because that's how fast it was going. And I was like, okay. So I laid back down in bed and I'm like, Lord, please, like, I feel like I'm gonna die right now. Like, I would have the phone in my hand to call 911. Because at this time I still was just thinking that it was an underlying health issue or something. So I finally came out of my panic attack. And
which you have to know, it does end.
It does end.
And I think that's a good reminder, because when you're in the middle of a panic attack or in the midst of anxiety,
like, when is this ever going to end?
You think it won't ever end.
Right. But it does. And that's one of the things now, because I still get them from time to time. And when they're happening, they're just as scary as before. But now I can tell myself, and I can kind of reason with myself, like, no one's ever died from a panic attack. I know it might feel like I'm going to die right now, but I felt this way before, and it is going to end. So I have to keep telling myself that.
Yeah.
So in the months that followed, in the weeks that followed, I had more panic attacks, and I went to the natural path, and they were giving me all this natural stuff. Because I was trying to be good and natural. But
yeah, I tried that.
That wasn't cutting it for me. I was still having... my panic attacks and thinking that something was really, really wrong, and going to the doctor every week, like, you're missing something, you have to, do another test, or take, you have to figure this out, like, something's wrong with me, and they'd be like, well, you just have anxiety. So finally, I was like, okay, this natural stuff, I need something more for the time being. So then I had to get on medication, which really bummed me out, because I had to stop breastfeeding, and I had to, kind of, like, get rid of that feeling inside of me where it was
stigma.
Like a disappointment for me to go on medication, because I was the type where even if I had a headache, I didn't even like to take Tylenol. So now having to be dependent on medication was like a very humbling experience for me. But now it's like I really feel like God has totally given such a purpose behind medication, and
I feel like God created certain medications, especially ones like this. He can heal through it. You know what I mean? And so I feel sad for some people who are really struggling and refuse to take the medicine, when that could be the one thing that changes everything for them.
It's like if you had strep throat, you wouldn't hesitate to go on antibiotics. You need to pray and see if that, and get with your doctor, and that if that's your issue, then medication might be necessary, and that's okay. And you need to give yourself grace and know that that is okay.
And know that 80% of the United States is probably on the same medication, or one very similar.
Maybe they're just not as open about it, but her and I have a call, like we feel a call on our life to be very
honest
and vulnerable with you guys, because we're not here just to talk about beauty. Make a difference.
Yeah, we want you guys to feel just not alone. You know, that what you're going through is not just you.
No.
And I think that is, if there's another thing that we could share, is don't hide it. I mean, I know it's scary to be vulnerable and open with people, but I feel like once you are and you can truly explain to people what you're feeling and what you're going through, it allows people to know how to help you, and you will be amazed at the people who will then open up to you about their struggle with it. For me, I never was a nervous person or a worrier or anything, so when it happened for me, it was really confusing because it definitely was not a part of my personality. No, I always loved to be outgoing. I like to be around people. And so when my grandpa died, I just helped to take care of him for a week as he was dying. And I was completely fine. And this was, I think Taylor was probably 2 at the time. And so we got home, and the night I got the call that my grandpa died was the first night that I had my panic attack. And I was literally like on all fours on the floor because I couldn't breathe, I couldn't catch my breath. So I tried the same, like I really tried for a long time, changing my diet, trying different supplements. I read a book called The Mood Cure, and she talks about supplements and food, and I tried all of those things, but it was just getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where I wasn't able to eat. I wasn't sleeping very well. I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to see people. I mean, I was just becoming somebody I wasn't. It was robbing me of me. And that's what was so awful about it. And the other thing is, nothing was wrong with my life. My marriage was good. It's like nothing was really causing me to be in this place. So I went on medicine too. And that was not just a quick fix for me. It took a while to find what was really going to work. And another thing that made a huge difference for me were a couple books that I read.
I have this one as well. And
this is like the best book ever. It's called The Anxiety Cure by Dr. Archibald Hart. And this is good. Just get it.
Good,
I mean, I have read it so many times.
Even just keep by your bed, and when you're having one of those anxious days, get it out.
Yeah.
It's got tons of reassurance and tips and coping mechanisms. It's good.
2 other books that I would recommend. Finding Calm in Life's Chaos by Becky Harling. This was another key book in that time of my life. And then Calm My Anxious Heart.
I haven't read either of those.
These, they're good. I should loan them to you. I don't know. I think finding out that you're just not alone.
It's such a help. Like when I called her, it was because I was so alone. Like no one was understanding my struggle. And once I had a big breakthrough once I could identify with someone. And so you need to find someone that you can be vulnerable with and share your heart with in a safe place. So if you don't have a friend that you feel comfortable, you have us. You can talk to us, email us your questions.
Our email is herandIblog@gmail.com. And we are there for you. Like, whatever we can do for you, pray for you, and that is another thing right there. I can't imagine going through that without
God,
without my relationship with God, because I don't know how anyone can go through that without
that hope
and relying on the strength of God and His promises to get you through.
Right.
And there was a song that I listened to like every day by the band Superchick. I have this one song. It's called Beauty from Pain. I mean, it sounds like she was going through the darkness of anxiety, and just how she was trusting God that He would bring beauty from pain. And I loved it so much that I have it tattooed on my back as a reminder that He will bring beauty from pain. And He did. And He continues to.
And that's the thing, when you surrender to Him, only good fruit can come from that.